Man, it is conference championship weekend, or as we call it around here, conference frenzy. And what better way to do it? To just go back to where we began with one of our very first interviews with Yahoo Sports senior writer and author of Iron in the Blood, Jay Busbee. We are so fired up to have him today, and we are ready to rock and roll with some Pigskin Frenzy and predict these conference championship games. Guys, welcome to Pigskin Frenzy on this beautiful Thursday afternoon. Very chilly here in Central Illinois. Thank you for joining us. I'm Joel Norris, and whether you're watching on YouTube, listening on Spotify, Podbean, and Apple, a big thank you for taking some time out of your Thursday to just sit back, watch, and listen to some college football coverage presented by us. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. Follow, like the pages there. Podbean, Spotify, Apple, share around with others as well. We also have X on Instagram at pigskin_frenzy. Website is www.pigskinfrenzy.weebly.com. Ladies and gentlemen, we are, like I said, back where we started. And we had him, I think it was the August 5th edition, to talk about his book, Iron in the Blood, how the Alabama versus Auburn rivalry shaped the soul of the South. Guys, we are ready to rock and roll with Jay Busbee once again. Ladies and gentlemen, Yahoo Sports senior sports writer, our conference frenzy guest picker, Jay Busbee. Golf clap for the one and only Jay Busbee. What's going on, Jay? How are you doing, man?
Thank you, my friend. All is good. All is good. Yeah, ready to get rolling on these conference championship games and see what kind of a mess we can make this college football weekend.
Oh, absolutely. And not only that, I just wanted to just clarify here and just say something here. Last week, you were an unofficial sponsor, by the way, with this book right here in hand. You were an unofficial sponsor for the Iron Bowl because that was one of our Pigskin Frenzy games last week. Before we begin, two questions before we talk about college football. One, what's the success been like for the Iron in the Blood since we last talked? And number two, how did you feel about the Iron Bowl last week?
Well, the book's been good. It's been going well. Everybody's been seeming to enjoy it, both Auburn and Alabama fans, which is always nice. You know, I've heard a lot of good praise about how the book is even-handed, and that was my goal. I mean, obviously, there's a bit of a difference in terms of overall program quality between Alabama and Auburn, and it seems pretty pronounced at this point too. But everybody seems happy with the way that I presented it, and obviously it's already a little bit dated because Hugh Freeze is still the coach, and Auburn is lacking a few of their national championships in the book. But you know, when we have a future edition, we'll update that accordingly.
Like a 2.0 type
Exactly.
of book, like
Yeah,
a
and as
part
for the
two
Iron
type
Bowl
of book.
itself, I mean, it was a tremendous game. I was there. I was at Jordan Hare Stadium. I got to watch Alabama leap out to a big lead, and then I got to watch them kind of dork around and let it fritter away. So yeah, I was on the field for the final drives there, and yeah, I mean, it's an electric atmosphere. If Alex Golesh can make something of this Auburn team, he's got a fan base. He's got maybe the most willing fan base of all of the new coach fan bases, with the exception of that one down in Baton Rouge, just ready to explode there and get back into the national prominence. So yeah, it was a fun game. We can talk more about what that means going forward with the ACC Championship, but the Iron Bowl never disappoints.
And I love how you mentioned that. And I know we're going to talk about the games and everything real quick. You mentioned Alex Golesh going to Auburn, and just a lot of stuff going on in Baton Rouge right now and in Oxford. Talk about the coaching carousel going on right now. Who would have predicted? Because when we talked, we were talking about the book and we were giving our predictions of the season. Who knew all this was going to happen? So, like, just talk about
Everybody knew this was going to happen. It's just a matter of how it was going to happen. I mean, you know, the fact that there were no SEC head coach changes from last year to this year was remarkable, because there always is a fair amount of turnover. Maybe not a third of the league as a third of the conference as there is right now, but yeah, I mean, there's always some measure of change. It's generally not as theatrical as we saw the Lane Kiffin saga, but then again, Lane Kiffin is kind of an industry unto himself, and the way that he carried off his departure from one school and his arrival at the next continues to be a source of controversy. It's just going to be a never-ending set of entertainment, and I'm already planning to be at the Ole Miss LSU game next fall, wherever it might be. Well, it's going to be in Oxford, whenever it might be.
Yeah, I might have to go to Oxford now. After seeing that, I might have to book my flight to Oxford as well. Who won the coaching carousel hire, really quick? In your opinion?
You know, it's such a tough call to make, because what looks great one year, I mean, you know, Nebraska might have looked great with Matt Rule a few years ago. Wisconsin with Lou Fickell. You know, you get that kind of hot coach, and then you put them into a situation where it seems they succeed, but you just don't know until the actual games start playing. I like Auburn's move. I like the fact that they got a coach that has a solid record that seems to be responding well. The problem that Auburn has had up until now with the last two hires that they've had, they haven't really connected with the fan base. They haven't really been Auburn type people, and I think they might have one of those now in spirit, if not necessarily in terms of lineage. But yeah, I think it's going to be fun seeing how all of these programs integrate the new head coaches in, and yeah, without a doubt, it's going to be a great next fall, and we've got so much to look forward to before then.
The one I feel bad for is Arkansas.
Yeah.
It seems like they really just are not a big fan of their coaching hire. I mean, they're for crying out loud, they are wearing paper bags over their heads. I'm just saying. I mean,
it's tough to make that call so early. You fall in love with a coach, but then it's like you're trying to buy a house. Anybody trying to buy a house in this market, you can't fall in love with it because all of a sudden someone might swoop in and grab it from you, and then you're left out in the cold. I mean, it's interesting what's happening with Penn State now. All the names that are swirling around Penn State that may or may not be involved with that program going forward. But now that I think about it, another school that I think probably is going to be very, very happy with their coaching, at least initially, is Virginia Tech. I mean, it's a huge upgrade over what the team they had in place before, and I think that James Franklin is already paying immediate dividends in the sense of bringing Penn State recruits, among others, to Blacksburg, and I think it's going to be an interesting next couple of years in Virginia Tech, because this is a school that's just been so far out of the mainstream for so long, in the ACC mainstream. So to see them get back into it will be a lot of fun. But overall, yeah, I think you can't really judge the coaches until the games actually start getting played. That's what's going to make this fall so much fun.
Absolutely. You're 100% right about the coaching carousel. I mean, it was wild and wacky, but now the true testament now is, okay, let's see how they do on the field, how everything looks on the field. But let's get into this college football this week, man. It is a doozy, obviously, conference championships, and the last testament to these teams who are in the conference championships to make their claim for the college football playoff. So before we get into the conference championships, let's talk about your ranking reactions for this week. Is there anything you liked or disliked about them?
Yeah, I mean, looking at the rankings right now, it's obvious that the committee is kind of setting up a few contingencies. They're setting up some trapdoors, as my colleague Dan Wilkins said, for Notre Dame. By moving Notre Dame down to 10th, that gives Alabama a little more breathing room, because if Alabama had gone to the SEC Championship and had lost, which still very well might happen, and then been left out of the playoff, I mean, it would have been absolute anarchy, absolute just the end of conference championship anarchy. So I think that what they've done is they've built in a little bit of margin of error for Alabama there. If Alabama gets blown out 42-3 or something like that, they don't really have a claim to a CFP spot at that point. But if they keep it close and lose, obviously I think that they have a chance to win there, because they've got that extra 10th spot to play with that they didn't have last week. Now, as for Notre Dame, what this also sets up is a possibility that they are going to be running into Miami in terms of a head-to-head, especially if BYU loses. If BYU at number 11 loses, then it becomes Notre Dame versus Miami, and then that's going to be a hell of a fight, because it's going to be fun to see how the supporters of these two very active schools make their case politically. I think that you look a little further down than that, Texas, Vanderbilt, Utah. I think that they are. This is kind of a little, thanks for playing, but you're not going to see them jump up at all, because they don't have an opportunity to impress anymore. It's interesting where Ole Miss is, leaving Ole Miss in. Obviously, they're not penalizing the Rebels for not having a coach, so I suppose that's fair to the team. And then, Texas A&M, they dropped a little bit more than you might have expected, but they should still be safe, even though they're not playing the SEC Championship. So a few little elements there, a few if-then possibilities. And I think that the fact that James Madison is down there all the way at 25, you're looking at a situation where if the worst case scenario happens in the ACC for the conference and Duke wins, that gives James Madison the leverage that it needs to move up into that number 12 spot there and take over that spot. But I'm sure we'll talk about that later on.
Oh, absolutely. We're definitely going to talk about the Sun Belt. Two questions, and we're going to start with Ole Miss. You mentioned that one. Do you think hiring Pete Golding as their permanent head coach kind of helped Ole Miss not, drop?
Yeah, keeping that continuity, absolutely. I think that definitely would help them. It's just such a, I tend to get a little bit cynical about this because it becomes like a beauty pageant at
Yeah.
some point. Oh my goodness! Did you impress the committee enough? Did you speak in complete sentences? Did you walk out in the swimsuit competition with enough verve and enough gusto to impress the committee? And we saw that most notably when Florida State got shut out a couple of years ago in favor of Alabama. That the committee will go and decide what it wants to decide. That's why I think that the Notre Dame ranking is so significant, because the committee had been kind of basically coddling Notre Dame. Notre Dame has a couple of close, good losses, but not a lot of signature wins, not a lot of great wins. And so I think that they had been overvalued until right now. I still think they're a little overvalued. But your question was about Ole Miss, and here I am talking about Notre Dame, which is typical.
Well, it's the main story right now.
Exactly. But yeah, I think it's good. The thing that I am glad that people keep in mind is that the players don't deserve this. The players who put in the work all year, they don't deserve to get screwed over because their head coach is a mercurial egomaniac who can't be satisfied anywhere for more than just a few years. So, yeah, the players don't deserve it. I think that Pete Golden keeping the continuity in house. Charlie Weiss is going to stay there as well. I think that helps definitely in terms of continuity for the players, and if it makes the committee happy, then good. That's what it should be.
Last question, then we'll move on to upsets and then the preview predictions. Let's go with the buys really quick. Do you think, and this is mainly Ohio State, Indiana, so whoever loses, and I know we're previewing predicting that game, but whoever loses that game, if it's a close loss or whatever, do you think they're still going to be in the top 4?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. I don't think that there's any reason to drop either one of those schools, especially Ohio State, all the way out of the top 4, just because of the way that they've been there for so long. Now, this is, you zoom out, another 10,000 feet, and you start to wonder about polls in general. But they have had the benefit of being at the top of the polls, being 1-2 for the polls all the way through. And so from that standpoint, unless one of them absolutely gets dog walked, unless you have a, 70-7 kind of situation with one of these two, which I don't see happening with either of those two schools, then I think you're looking at a situation where they drop the 4th spot. You'd have the winner of the SEC Championship. If it's Georgia, obviously they jump right into the 2 spot. If it's Alabama, then you start to figure out, does Alabama move all the way up enough? And then, you take it on from there. But I don't think that these top 2 schools, either of these Big Ten schools, are going to lose out on a bye. So, yeah, that's good news for them. Maybe bad news for someone who wanted a game on campus, but that's the trade-off that you have to get.
Absolutely. I just don't see, if Bama does beat Georgia, them going from 9 all the way to 4 or into the top 4 in general. I just don't see it.
It would be a long, long way to go. It would require a lot. Maybe it would be the situation where the committee says, hey, we'll give you a game in Tuscaloosa. Okay, play with that. Maybe they get the 5 spot there, and they'll pick whoever, 5 spot or the 6 spot. They get either the ACC winner or one of the group of 6 winners there, and they get that as their reward rather than that first round bye. So it would be tough. It's kind of tough to think that the SEC champion wouldn't qualify for a first round bye.
Yeah.
But that might be. I think you got a good point. That might be where we.
They have to blow Georgia out, I think. I really do. I think they'll have to blow Georgia out to get that first round bye. Honestly, I don't think they will blow Georgia out, but. So who's more likely to get upset on conference championship weekend? I usually do upset alerts, but it's like, okay, we're at conference championship weekend. We only have a select few games.
Yeah.
So who's more likely to get upset?
I don't know. All of these seem to. I think that the ones that aren't the upsets, the ones that are the clear picks for me, are what you would expect. I just don't see the upsets happening. The ones where I do think you might have the lower seed winning, and I picked Indiana and I picked Georgia. Georgia's technically the lower seed in the SEC, although they're the higher seed. Neither one of those really qualify as upsets per se, because both of those are great schools. They're both number 2 and number 3. I don't know. I have a hard time seeing BYU hang out with Texas Tech. I have a hard time seeing these other conference games going against the grain. I have a hard time seeing. I mean, maybe Virginia might. Virginia has struggled at times this season, and if Duke puts together the game of its season, then they could give the Cavaliers some trouble. But by most estimations, I would think that the upsets are going to be not really upsets. They're going to be like upsets in the sense of the lower the team with the lower odds ended up winning rather than necessarily a huge blowout upset. What do you think? Where are you going with this?
So I'm going with Duke.
Yeah.
Too, because I'm in agreement with you. I think Virginia has struggled at times this year. And then that would create the controversy though, right? Because it would create, all right, so Duke's a 7-5 conference champion. Do we put Miami in now? Because, okay, to me, you probably already heard my stance on this plenty of times. I don't think a 3-loss or more team should get in unless they won a conference championship. But I think if you win a conference championship as a 3-loss team, that's fine. But 5 losses is just, I don't know, man. That's too much. So you really can't put Duke in. So it's like with Miami, that's the whole argument. You either put Miami in or you leave out a Power 4 conference entirely. So that's going to create more controversy. I think Duke can be one. I think Indiana probably.
The question is, I mean, this is the kind of thing where, you would almost see like a lawyers filing briefs about this. What constitutes a conference champion?
Yeah.
And it's almost like, I was having this conversation earlier today. There's 2 paths into the playoff. There's the conference championship and there's the at-large. And Miami, by virtue of those 2 losses and tiebreakers, doesn't have access to that conference championship lane. So it really doesn't matter if there's not an ACC team coming in. It's not like they can jump in and take that ACC spot, even though they deserve it. Even though they probably deserve it better than any other team that's in the mix from the ACC. Miami just is on the bad end of a couple of losses at the wrong time to the wrong teams in the wrong slots on the schedule. So, I think that it's going to be fascinating to see. I'm not sure, it's entirely possible that the ACC could be shut out of the playoff entirely if Duke does manage to win, because there's, as we'll discuss, there are a lot of possibilities further down the line that could really shake things up.
100%. And then one more, and then we'll move on to our preview predictions. I think that Tulane could probably upset North Texas. I think that's one for me. I know it's a G5, but still, it's playoff talk too. I think they can upset North Texas. I know North Texas is the favorite right now, but man, John Summerall, what he's doing with Tulane, I mean, we'll see how he does at Florida, but he's doing a heck of a job at Tulane, obviously. Yeah. So I think that's a good one for me.
That's valid. That's absolutely valid. Yep. I love it.
And then Indiana, obviously. But we're going to get into that here in a little bit. We'll see if that's where I'm leaning or not. But, man, Conference Frenzy preview and predictions, man. It is going to be fun to talk about these games and preview these games. We're going to kick it off with the 2 Friday games. They're G5 games. Playoff implications for both. The American Conference Championship. North Texas at Tulane. North Texas is 11-1. Tulane's 10-2. And North Texas is a 2.5-point favorite in this game. I also want to ask you a question. Explain to me this, probably because I'm learning as I go, right? Why does Tulane have home field advantage? That's all I'm asking.
I'm not sure that I know. I don't know that I know the answer to that. I'm not sure why that is. That's a good question. I wish I had some kind of arcane answer for you, but maybe it's the kind of thing where is it a conference record kind of thing? Because that's why Alabama is the number 1 seed. I don't have the records, the conference records right in front of me here, but is it a number 1 seed thing with Alabama with Tulane?
Maybe. Let's look. I think North Texas is the number 1 seed in the American Conference right now. Let's see. Tulane's the number 2 seed, but they're playing the game at home. I'm trying to figure that out. I need to get. We'll clarify that later on. I'll try to get some.
Get that one. That is one that I had not researched.
Because that doesn't make any sense to me. But anyway, is the spread wrong, too high, too low? What's your analysis and who do you got?
I mean, North Texas, they've scored over 50 points like 6 times this season. They have an explosive kind of offense that can just grind you into the ground. So the spread seems about right. What's interesting to me is that both of these teams are going to be losing their coaches after this season. That's the woeful life of the group of 6 school, is that once you get any level of success, then a Power 4 conference school comes in like a big claw machine at a pizza parlor. Government just plucks your coach right out of there, and you just hope that he doesn't take too many players along with him. But yeah, it's going to be a fun game. I think that it's going to be the kind of game that you want to see. I would agree with you. John Summerall's got a lot going on with his Tulane team. It's obviously what attracted Florida about him. But I think that it's going to be fun to see if North Texas is able to sustain that kind of offensive attack that they've had all season against one of the best, if not the best, opponents they've had all year.
Absolutely. Who do you got winning?
North Texas. I'm taking North Texas. I'm going with it. I think that they will be able to hang in there, and I think that this will be the representative, the G6 representative, at least one of them, for the college football playoff.
Yeah, absolutely. It is the G6 now. I keep calling it the Group of 5. It is kind of the G6
I know.
now.
It's Power 5, and Group of 5. We got to readjust our thinking.
Yeah, now it's Power 4 and G6 because
Power 4 and G6
because the Pac-12 is coming in now, back with all these teams. So it is kind of an adjustment.
Pac-12.
Yeah. The Pac-12
is Pac-12 just got knocked down into little brother
it
status.
Used to mean something, man.
Exactly.
The keys for North Texas to me, protect the football. You had 2 turnovers versus Temple. They do have an explosive offense, but sometimes they do turn the ball over quite a bit, and I think they should kind of zero that down. Create explosive plays, obviously. That's what they're good at. On the ground with Caleb Hawkins or with Drew Mestemaker. So keep just those explosive plays and keep on coming with them. And then force turnovers, obviously. Tulane's been turning the ball over as well. Charlotte, that's the perfect key right there. So force some turnovers. And then Tulane, obviously, like I just said, protect the football. Force turnovers in your own right, and then limit their explosive plays. That's going to be very, I think, challenging. I know John Summerall's a very good defensive mind, but you also got to think, man, Eric Morris and that offense, man, he knows how to call some of those plays. So he may be dialing it up down in New Orleans on Friday night. So I
like that. Yeah, I think that you're right. Mestemaker is going to be the key there for, to see how he's able to handle the spotlight for a freshman. But I'm sorry, I stepped on your toe.
No, you're good. I'm glad you said that because the truth. And I also wanted to point out something you just said too, because you mentioned we'll see how he does at Florida. Both coaches are going. So I'm kind of curious to see where their heads are at coming into this game. Are they going to be really focused and zeroed in on this game? So I think that's a key there. So who do I got winning this ball game? Give me North Texas. I think they have enough firepower to win this game. I think it'll be more than 2.5. It'll be a touchdown. So give me North Texas 28-21. I think that's a good score for the game. North Texas wins 28-21 and stake some claim in the, like you said, the G6 representative for the CFP. One more G5, and then we'll move on to the Power 4. The Sun Belt Championship, Troy had James Madison. James Madison's a 23.5-point favorite. I know James Madison's not completely out of it yet. So I think North Texas will probably have some claim, but maybe North Texas can sneak in there. But who do you have winning this game? What's your analysis on it?
It's going to be a tight one. James Madison's just going to sweep by with that 23.5 point. Yeah, I don't think that there's going to be a whole lot of drama to this game. Yeah. James Madison is going to take care of business and then become, Harrisonburg, Virginia is going to become the biggest fans of Duke University that you have ever seen outside of Durham. They are going to be pushing hard for that Duke victory because that's what will open the door, however small, however large, that's what opens the door to them going in because, at the moment they're seated 25th, they're right, they're one behind North Texas. If they had a monstrous performance, would that give them enough to jump North Texas? I don't know. Again, I'm not sure what what standards the committee is going to apply in terms of a beauty pageant, but you can bet that James Madison is going to want to try and hang 100 on Troy if they possibly can.
Absolutely. So you got James Madison. It's all about style points, I think. And I think I don't know if this may be kind of weird to say. I think they're leaning on Tulane maybe to win this ball game Friday because I think that would help James Madison.
Absolutely.
They would help James
Absolutely.
Madison
100%.
tremendously. So I think they're leaning on Tulane. There are some Greenway fans coming up on Friday. But and the thing is, I had some keys to this game, but let me just break it down to you, and then I'll pick the game, and then we'll move on to our Power Four. I think James Madison's rushing offense is superb. I mean, they're 6th in college football and rushing offense, first in the Sun Belt. Troy is honestly, they're 94th in the rushing defense in the sport, and they're 7th in the Sun Belt. So to me, I think the ground game is going to be kind of, iffy for Troy. I'm going to have James Franklin win this ball game. I also think that penalties have been quite a concern for Troy. So give me James Madison to win this game. I'm probably going to think 35-17 around there. I think that's a good game.
Feels fair.
Yeah, James Madison 35, Troy 17, and we'll see what happens come Sunday.
Good.
So that's going to be a very interesting ball game. Power Four, and then we'll start with the ACC. Very interesting game there. Duke 7-5, Virginia 10-2. Virginia's 3.5-point favorite. So a lot of chaos can happen here, especially with the ACC because it's been kind of the chaotic conference all year. Where do you lean towards this game, and who do you have?
The Cardiac Calves is who I'm picking for any number of reasons, and the main reason is that they have been here before. They know not to this conference championship. Obviously, they've been the conference championship. I think the last one that they were in was something like 2019 against Clemson, and they got blown out like 70-6 or something monstrous like that. It was painful. But they have been here this season in the sense of, all right, this is a pressure game that you have to win, that you have to come through, and they did it. Most notably against Florida State when they had the entire student body streaming down onto the field. But they've had many instances like that, and I think that's the kind of thing that you want to have as a team in terms of going into these win or go home or win or go to a bowl game sort of games. And I think that they have a little bit more ruggedness than Duke does. I think that they will be able to hold on and win. It's going to be close. It's probably going to be in doubt with 5 minutes left in the game, but I do think Virginia holds on.
Absolutely. I think Duke needs to slow down their running game, man. 34th in college football and rushing offense, 3rd in the conference. They allowed 224 rushing yards versus Virginia on November 15th. So a lot of my keys are going by from their last meeting. I mean, protect Darian Mensah, 7 sacks allowed in their 3 games. That's pretty tough. That's not a stat that you want if necessarily. And I think 4 allowed versus Virginia is the key there. So if Virginia can keep on getting to Darian Mensah, that'd be good. And then create explosive plays through the air if you're Darian Mensah and Duke's offense. I think if you do that, maybe there's a chance, that Virginia gets on its heels a little bit. I mean, forced turnovers for Virginia. They snagged 2 versus Virginia Tech. Tried to do that against Duke, and you should be fine. Win on 3rd down if you're Virginia. I mean, they're 14th in 3rd down in college football and 2nd in the ACC. They were also, good stat here, 12 for 19 on 3rd down versus Duke, their last meeting. So if they can just keep on, getting on the field, winning the time of possession battle as well, you should be fine in this ball game. Well, who do I have? I have Virginia. I just think that Virginia's going to find a way to win the game. They have had some moments where it's like, okay, I'm expressing a little bit of doubt, but then they come back at you with, hey man, here we are. We're Tony Elliott saved his job this year. We're going to keep the mission going and go into the college football playoffs. So I think they win. They go to the CFP. So give me Virginia. I'll probably say 31-24 type game. Virginia 31, Duke 24, and then we'll have more conversation on Miami and Notre Dame and what happens there. That's going to be a very interesting conversation come Sunday. So, Big 12 championship in Dallas. I covered this game on Pigskin Frenzy the past few weeks ago, I think November 8th. But BYU versus Texas Tech, and Texas Tech's a 12.5-point favorite. I don't think so, but I'm going to ask you this. Is the spread too high or low? What's your analysis, and who do you have?
I mean, the last meeting was 29-7, Texas Tech. So yeah, I feel like anytime you get into the double digits, that's it's almost disrespectful. BYU's got to be like, what the hell? Come on, man. But their BYU's, they wouldn't say what the hell. They would say, gosh darn it, what the heck? But they've got to be wondering, why the lack of respect.
Right.
They had a great tweet that right after they finished out the season, it said something like, I forget what it said, but you probably saw it about, your college football playoff entrant or something like that, basically saying, we deserve to be in at 11-1. It's like, okay, guys, slow down, but we appreciate you trying. So yeah, I think that BYU just does not have the firepower, the horsepower that Texas Tech does. I think this is going to be a repeat of the game that we had back in early November. The one that did you say you covered it? Were you there and on site, or were you focused on it?
I was focused on it for sure. Yeah, I was trying to make it. I couldn't make it, but
yeah, it's it's going to be a fun game regardless, but I think that this is another one that of these games, not all of them are going to be blowouts, but I think this is one that Texas Tech should take care of business handily, and then at that point, we get into with BYU. BYU gets removed from the conversation and kind of the roadblock of BYU, and then it's Miami and Notre Dame right next to each other.
Yeah, I think that's the key right there is Miami and Notre Dame. I think that's the biggest key for Sunday's playoff conversation. So the big key for both, and I'll just go for both, and then we'll get on to the other two games, I think is the winning the red zone battle. They're both really good at the red zone. Offensively for Texas Tech, defensively for BYU. Who wins that battle as well? I mean, I think the running game is going to come into effect for both teams as well. I think who's going to have the better rushing attack on Saturday is going to be probably the winner of this game. And then I think the turnovers, obviously. I think who can force the most turnovers and limit their turnovers will win the ball game as well. Basic football talk, right? Who do I have winning this ball game? I think Texas Tech finds a way to win this game. I'm with you. I think it's going to be a sequel to what we saw on November 8th. So give me Texas Tech, probably 34-24 around there. I don't think it's going to be maybe a little bit better, but still think it'll be a double-digit win for Texas Tech, and they'll run away with it at the end. So 34-24, Texas Tech, they win and get the Big 12 championship. And hey, like you said, BYU's probably out of it, and they're probably sitting there at the, bye, maybe. So we'll see what happens for Texas Tech. Good season for them, by the way. So round of applause for them, man. Joey McGuire's done.
Yeah, it's amazing what all those millions can buy.
Absolutely. NIL's a heck of a thing, right? Two more games, and then we'll wrap up. Big Ten Championship in Indianapolis. The collision course that I've been talking about since probably September or October, I believe. Ohio State and Indiana. Ohio State's a 4.5-point favorite. As I believe. No, it's gone down to 4. Excuse me. Gone down to 4 points. That's probably the lowest they've been all season, I think. So who do you have winning this game, and what's your analysis on it?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think that the key to me is that Ohio State just hasn't played a whole lot of football. They tend to kind of, shorten the games as best they can. They take care of business quickly, and then they get out of town there, and they roll. We saw what they can do when they become fully engaged. What they did to Michigan, just absolutely throttling the Wolverines. And I think that it's going to be fun to see if they're able to do the same thing against Indiana. There's this kind of overall bias that those of us, all of us, you and I included, who have followed college football for any length of time, you're thinking Indiana, they can't be that good. Vanderbilt, they can't be that good, but they are, and they're here. And this is the kind of thing where when you've got someone like Fernando Mendoza able to run the offense that Indiana can do, have these plays, have these abilities to make these fourth down conversions that you will run into. I think that's going to be very, very tough for Ohio State to keep up with that. I think it's going to be a close game, again, down to the wire, but I am taking Indiana in this one.
So now you're getting me a little bit pumped, man. You're getting me a little bit pumped doing this, man. I'm telling you. So for me, I think for Ohio State, they got to slow down their running game. I use 9th in rushing offense, but they're 1st in the Big Ten. I think you got to slow down their running game because they're 4th in rushing defense. So if you just slow down their running game, I think you should be fine in this. We'll make them kind of one-dimensional a little bit. I think if you create those explosive plays, you're going to win. I love what Saban's done with Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate as well, and Max Clare at the tight end spot. I think their offense is really good, in the air. So I think just create some explosive plays and then win the line of scrimmage battle against them. And for Indiana, sort of the same sentiment. Establish the running game, limit their explosive plays, and then win the line of scrimmage battle. I think it's going to come down to the trenches. I think it's going to come down to seeing if Ohio State can really just slow down Mendoza in through the air, but also slow down their rushing attack as well. So just kind of limit that, because usually Ohio State plays teams who are, have a good passing offense and they don't have necessarily a good rushing attack behind it, or vice versa. Now they're playing a team that's got both. So it's like, all right, this is probably going to be a good game for Ohio State. Who do I have winning this ball game? I said back after they beat Oregon, I cannot pick against Indiana. However, I'm going to have to doubt them again. I'm going to have to take Ohio State because Ohio State has proven to me throughout every time I picked against them where, well, they just dominate. And they have been dominant all year. So I agree with your sentiment on football. Like, they haven't played a whole lot of football, it seems like, right? I think Ohio State's going to find a way to win this game. I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be a 7-point game, probably like 24-17, I think. Ohio State 24, Indiana 17. I hope Indiana proves me wrong again. I mean, I really am betting on Kirk Stignetti so I can just post a meme about him again and, you know, he can prove me wrong. But, I mean, hey, 24-17, Ohio State, they get the win, but I don't know. I'm kind of scared about this one. It's a collision course, and I could get this one wrong. So, last but not least, the SEC Championship game in Atlanta. Alabama 10-2, Georgia 11-1, 2.5-point favorite for Georgia. What's your analysis on this game? Who do you got? Do you think the spread is high, low, or do you think the wrong team is favored?
Yeah, I think that the right team is favored, and I'm going to spoil it and just come right out with it. I think that Georgia's going to win this one because I think that Alabama has disturbed me with the way that they have kind of slacked off. They probably, I think, peaked in that Missouri game, and they've slacked off a bit since then. You know, slacked off in an overall sense. They obviously beat Auburn, hanging in there, and then they were, I think. What they did in the Oklahoma game was most troublesome because they outplayed Oklahoma by every measure except for the one on the scoreboard, and that's what concerns me. When you're playing a team like Georgia, you can't afford to give up mistakes like they did against Oklahoma, like they did against Auburn. A couple of huge 60-plus yard chunk plays that resulted in touchdowns. Ty Simpson, it seems to have regressed a little bit from his peak, and so if he turns over the ball, it's going to be a long, long afternoon for Alabama. I think that Alabama's defense is good enough very much to keep them in this, and I think that Alabama's defense might be what actually keeps the Tide in the college football playoff conversation. I'm still not entirely sold on Gunnar Stockton, but he is as good as he needs to be, and Georgia is able to make those plays when they need to make them, and I think that they will be able to have a bit of revenge for what happened earlier this season. Obviously, you know, that worked out well for Alabama because it put them in the position that they're in now, number one seed in the SEC. But I think that it's tough to beat a team twice in a year or three times potentially. And so I think that especially Kirby Smart is going to have it in mind. It'll be tight. It'll be close. I think it'll be a 3-point or so margin, but I think Georgia in this one.
Good pick. Good, very, very good pick. I mean, Alabama's keys for me. I mean, win the third down battle as well. They did really good against Georgia's defense on third down. I mean, 13 for 19 against Georgia on September 27th. That was a huge, huge night for them. And the thing is, Georgia's gotten better throughout. So we'll see what happens. But I mean, protect the football if you're Bama, right? I mean, those turnovers have been crucial, and it can be very crucial and costly against this Georgia defense, like you said. So, and then, I mean, win the time of possession battle. I mean, and not only that, win the time of possession battle for Georgia. I think for both. I think whoever's going to who force as many 3-and-outs as you can, yes, but then keep the drives going for both teams. I think because Georgia is really good at time of possession, so is Bama. So I think that's the conversation there for both teams. And not only that, I mean, for Georgia, establish the running game as well. I think Bama's rushing defense is a little bit, you know, you can run the ball on Bama's defense a little bit. So I think if you're Georgia, run the ball on them. And then I think the key for both, obviously, is just win the line of scrimmage battle, man. I think whoever's going to win the trenches and is really tough wins this ball game, honestly. Who do I have winning this game? Well, Georgia's a really good team, man. Honestly, they're going to go to the playoff either way. Bama's going to win this game. I don't know why I think Bama's going to win. I think Bama's going to win the game because of the history is just too much, and Georgia has an Alabama problem. And I think I need to see it to believe, like, okay, Georgia needs to – the final score has got to be, when the clock hits 0, 24, 23, something, where Georgia has 1 point higher than Alabama in this for me to say, okay, Georgia beat Bama. I just don't see it right now, man. I think Alabama's going to win. The history is just behind Alabama especially in SEC Championship games. So give me Alabama. I'll take 24-21. Alabama 24, Georgia 21. Sort of the same score as last game. I think it was the same score as last game, maybe, if I'm not mistaken. But Bama wins 24-21. Jay, before we go, do you have any final thoughts before we enter this weekend?
I mean, I think we've hit them all, man. It's going to be tremendous fun. This is what college football is all about. It would be a shame to see the conference championships go because of all the playoff wrangling that's going on. But I fear that they may be heading toward the sunset just because of all of the wrangling. But it's going to be fun regardless.
Absolutely. Jay Busbee from Yahoo Sports. Guys, round of applause for him. Golf clap for him joining as our Conference Frenzy guest picker. That is all the time we got for today. Guys, a big thank you for taking some time out of your Thursday to just sit back, watch, and listen to some college football presented by us. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel. Like each episode, leave comments down below. Spotify, Podbean, and Apple to share around with others and follow on there as well. X on Instagram is at Pigskin_Frenzy. Follow me on there. You'll get a lot of wacky takes from me in the sport of college football. And the website's www.pigskinfrenzy.weebly.com. Guys, we could not do this show without you guys, and we also give the Lord all the praises. Without him, we would not be here in college football media and covering this sport. So we give him all the praise and glory, and we praise him across all platforms and networks. Guys, we will see you Tuesday as we recap Conference Championship weekend and Conference Frenzy. Guys, that's Jay Busbee, author of Iron in the Blood and Yahoo Sports senior writer. Guys, I'm Joel Norris, signing off. Have a great rest of your weekend and rest of your Thursday. For everybody out there, please and always stay the course.